sound speeds. And if you watch my video called On the Mic, on the Interface, Where Does the Fethead Go?, then I'm going to start out this video by apologizing to you because I accidentally sabotaged the results of that video before I even got started. The reason why, follow me on this, is that most of the time people that get into audio, they will spend as little money as they possibly can. They might start off with a microphone, start off with an interface, and usually those are discount versions of microphones and interfaces, and XLR cables along with them. Well, the people that will normally buy a discount interface might end up saying, well, geez, the noise is really high. What can I do? Do additional research and come to find out that something like the Fethead or the Dynamite DM-1 will actually help. And in doing so, it will drop the noise floor. But those people most likely will not be using a premium XLR cable, something like a Mogami Gold or the SoundSpeed Special as it's now called. And in my video, the reason why the results were skewed and I accidentally sabotaged the results is because I used a premium XLR cable that I personally made. And because of that, it is, as some people had in the comment section has put it is too good. So in this video, I'm going to do the same test again, but this time I'm going to be using 3 of the most commonly found XLR cables on Amazon: the Amazon Basics, the Monoprice, and the Cable Matters. I'm going to compare that to the SoundSpeed Special. And although it does go without saying, if you have not already watched that video right there, you might want to start with it because it sets up what we're doing in this video, and then we take it to the next level. So start right there and then come back. In the first video, I just used the SoundSpeed's XLR cable. I started with the 150 ohm dummy load, went into the Fethead, into the SoundSpeed's cable, and then into the Sound Devices Mix-Pre 6. After recording 30 seconds, I disconnected the signal flow, went from the 150 dummy load into the SoundSpeed's cable, into the Fethead, and then into the Sound Devices Mix-Pre 6. Recorded another 30 seconds, and then hit stop. I repeated this exact same test, but this time with the Dynamite DM-1 instead of the Fethead. And then I went into post and we looked at the results. And unfortunately, the test results were pretty conclusive that there really wasn't a difference where you put the Fethead as long as you use a premium XLR cable like the SoundSpeed Special. But in this video, you see that I have an Amazon package and inside of it is 3 different brands of XLR cable. And I took them straight out, plugged them straight in, and did the exact same test yet again, the same way I did with the SoundSpeed's cable that I just went through. And what you're looking at right now is a sped up version of the testing that I did. If you would like to watch the testing I did in real time and hear the results in real time, then you could watch this video right here, which is unlisted, so you're not going to find it if you search for it, but I will make sure there's a link at the end of this video if you'd like to check it out, or you can click on that link right there and, watch it now if you really want to. Now, when I was done recording these audio samples, I had a total of 8 different audio files: the SoundSpeed's cable, the Monoprice, the Cable Matters, and the Amazon Basics, with the Fethead and the Dynamite DM-1 on each recording. So what I did is I used the video reference that you're looking at right now on the screen, and I labeled it with each one of the audio clips that I recorded at the same time. Then I simply put them in order and then relabel them all to indicate as to what they actually are. And now we're going to open up Isotope RX Elements and see exactly what the files look like. Now, the reason I say we're going to be looking at them to see what they look like is because in Isotope, you can see with your eyes what the sound looks like. And I'll show you that as soon as we open them up. Now, what I'm going to do is put all of the Fethead audio clips together and then all of the DM-1 audio clips together. So all the DM-1 seems to open up first. Let's see, we're going to start off by organizing these so that we have the SoundSpeed's cable first, Monoprice second, Amazon Basics last, and the Cable Matters next. So let's see, that was the last one, this was the first one, and Monoprice. So we have SoundSpeed's, Monoprice, Amazon Basics, Cable Matters. That's wrong. So this should be there. SoundSpeed's, Monoprice, Cable Matters, Amazon Basics, SoundSpeed's, Monoprice, Cable Matters, Amazon Basics, Fethead, DM-1, 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 DM-1. Okay, great. So here's what we're going to do. When you look at the audio clips right now, you say, well, geez, it's black because here's the way this looks. Now, I did record a little bit at the very beginning. I thought about doing an audio sync, but then I decided I wasn't going to go that route. So if you look at every single one of these clips, all you'll see is the clicking here when I unplugged the signal flow to begin with after recording 30 seconds of audio. Then this is when I had everything connected up and I plugged it in again and recorded another audio sample. And that's the same way on every single one of them, except the very first, where I also did a clap test and did things for syncing purposes with the Shure SM7B, but I'm not going to be using that at all. But I'm not going to delete any of it. This is basically just untapped. So this is just freshly opened up, and we're going to look at this. Now, before we go into these files and look at them, I'm going to show you this little line right here. You see, this is a threshold that you can listen to. Right now, it looks like it's just, the pops are blue and everything else noise-wise is black. But what we're going to do is raise this up, which is basically showing us more sensitivity to different audio levels. And this is going to indicate and show us the noise a little bit better. So if you look over here, this is pretty noisy, and this here is going to be pretty quiet. See, that's in comparison. So what we're going to do here is starting with the SoundSpeeds cable. This is when I hit record, and usually the Fethead will take a little bit of the performance, and it'll take a moment for it to kind of dial itself in. So what I'm going to do is select an area. Let's standardize this. Here's the little length right down there. I'm going to standardize a length of 2 seconds, roughly. And then I'm going to turn on waveform stats, and we're going to put that right up here. Let's put it right over there. So if we were to look at that, we see that our noise floor is negative 82.39. And if I scroll this across, negative 83, negative 83, negative 83, negative 82.4. So we're basically pretty consistent right there, okay? If I go to the end of the file, it should be relatively the same. Negative 82, negative 82, negative 82.43. It's all about the same roughly, okay? Now I'm going to jump over to after I changed up the signal flow. And this is the same exact thing. It's just that the Fethead is now moved from right on the other side of the microphone, and it's now going into the interface. And you see the results here are more or less the same thing. So if you skip around here, they're all about the same exact level. You're going to have a couple of little outliers here, and mainly that's just, typical elements that will happen. And we're going to excuse the little outliers on all of the devices because it may cause over the course of this 2 second long sample, which I just canceled out. I'm going to redo here. It's about 2 seconds. It is basically showing us that the sound level as a rule is negative 82.61, negative 82.68, negative 83. So they're all right in par with the same kind of thing. So negative 82. That's basically across the board what it is, right? So now let's go ahead and look at the Monoprice cable. Same exact thing, but what we're going to do is select a 2 second span. That's a little bit long right over there. And now we're going to grab this. And is that 2 seconds? Did I do that right? No, the length is way too short. I didn't do that right. Okay, so that is 2 seconds. 2 seconds right there. Now I'm going to grab this, start bringing it across. And look at this. The sound level is basically the same, negative 82.65 roughly. It's going to probably fluctuate and go up and down. So it's right on par with the SoundSpeeds cable coming straight out of the microphone. Basically the same exact thing right here at the very end, right before we unplugged it. The numbers are all about the same. But look at this other side when I plugged it back in. After running through the cable, so it went microphone into the Fethead, through the cable, into the interface. Well, coming out of the interface, look at all this. You have lines galore. And our audio signal has suddenly dropped to negative 75. So look at this. From negative 82, negative 81 roughly. So basically, we'll call it, to be nice, we'll call it like negative 82.5. Okay? So right around there, it has suddenly dropped, or raised rather, the noise floor by about 8 dB as a rule. So look at this. And this noise is terrible. I mean, in comparison, quite a difference there. Oh, that was the Monoprice cable. I thought it was the Cable Matters. Oh, okay. Well, this is the Cable Matters. I'm getting ahead of myself and looking at saying things already wrong. I apologize yet again. This is going to be an apology video. Okay, so that's roughly about 2 seconds long. And so we're going to do the same exact thing again. Why are you not? Okay, that's close enough. So we're looking at a sample, negative 82.95, all the same kind of numbers. Consistent across the board. Same thing as the other two cables coming straight out. You boost the level a little bit, then it travels down the line, and it makes sense that the hotter signal is basically an increase in voltage, right? If you have yourself, let's just say with the SM7B, if your voltage level coming out of that microphone is barely 1 millivolt, and then you were to boost it up approximately 20 decibels, that takes it from 1 millivolt to suddenly 10 millivolts. And that is going to mean that it's going to be a hotter signal that is going to be amplified through your interface. And therefore, if you were to have any noise along the line and you amplify it at the beginning before it goes through the line, that noise is going to be lower when it's being amplified again at the interface, as opposed to letting it run down the line and then pick up some of the noise that is then amplified. So that's what the difference is between this side over here which is preamplified before running through the line. And then on this side here, which is after going into the interface. And if you notice here, the numbers are all pretty much consistent on the Cable Matters. It's basically the same. Whoa, there was a little bit of an outlier there. Again, we're excusing outliers because it was probably just one little pop in there that if you were to zoom in, you're going to see you're going to probably see a little pop somewhere in the audio or something there. Who knows where it was, but anyway, I could probably see the edge of it as soon as I scroll past it, and that number goes from 74 to 83. So it's probably right around here someplace. It might be that little bitty bit right there. So as soon as we pass over that, yeah. So that's probably it. Just a little bit of a noise right through there, little pop, little outlier. We're not going to count that against them. But as a rule, the thicker diameter on the Cable Matters cable looks like it seems to be pretty good. So then it didn't really affect a whole lot, except that if you look down here at the bottom, there's a little bit more noise that it's picked up along the line. It's not really affecting the noise floor. Actually, we'll investigate that at the end of this video. Let's go ahead and continue and let's look at the Amazon basics. We're going to, again, choose about a 2-second gap, roughly. And we're at negative 83, negative 82, basically coming out of the microphone. Pretty good. But now over here, we have the same kind of garbage we had before with the Monoprice cable. Increased noise floor of about 8 dB. This is completely terrible. And it's all indicatory of the Fethead not responding correctly and boosting up really, really weird. And this right here is something that, because it is both on the Monoprice cable and the Amazon Basics cable, and it looks about the same if you look at it, the increased noise, I'm going to suspect at this point in time that it's the Fethead. I have not looked ahead and looked at the Dynamite DM-1, but if it is the same, then we know that that is probably the cable. So let's go ahead and look now. Let's go ahead and select that 2-second gap again. Now let's look at the DM-1. This is going to be a lower noise that we're looking at here because we did not preamplify any more than we with our interface and compensate for it. All we're basically doing is running it through the DM-1, which should be a hotter signal, more amplification, which means that we're amplifying less on the interface. So the level should be a little bit lower. All right, so sound speeds, cable right now, negative 76 dB. So that's about right for increased about 8 more dB. Well, 22, which is the Fethead, to increase to 28 decibels. So it's about 6 dB. And that's about right. You know, add 6 to that, you're about 82 to 83. So here we go. We're scrolling through this again, same kind of thing. Look over here, and the numbers are all basically maintaining about the same kind of level. And afterwards, same kind of thing. Negative 76, negative 74, negative 76, couple of outliers in there as with everything else, but consistently, you know, it is all about the same. So this cable is very well. Oh, actually, look down here at the bottom. There was a noise that was picked up through the DM-1, but the SoundSpeeds cable removed it. So there you go. SoundSpeeds cable in action, doing God's work. Okay, so let's go to the Monoprice cable. And look, that noise is there also on the DM-1. Actually, I'm going to skip ahead. It's not there on the Cable Matters. It is there on the Amazon Basics. So it's really weird. So the DM-1 looks like it actually had a noise in the bottom of it. So the SoundSpeeds cable removed it. The Monoprice did not remove it. So let's go ahead and select about a 2-second gap yet again. And now we're going to scroll through it. Numbers are on par with the way it's been. The numbers consistently with the Fethead or the DM-1 coming directly out of the microphone, those numbers are pretty consistent. They're basically all about the same. It's basically the cable that it's running through that matters. And that's what we're testing here. But then when we jump over here, these numbers get all kinds of skewed. I'm going to go past those harder, darker colors right there because those are just going to skew our numbers. Look at this, down to, oh, that's terrible. Anyway, let's go over here. Negative 74. Geez, it didn't look, well, negative 96. Okay, 69. So it's a little bit noisier through there. But once it kind of catches its own, once it kind of warms up a little bit, the DM-1 seems to kind of find itself around negative 74. But these noises down here are pretty outrageous. So this cable, not great. Let's look at the Cable Matters. So it did not have any kind of a signal to begin with that it was having to potentially remove, and it did maintain a pretty decent level, just like the SoundSpeeds cable did. And then over here at the end, same kind of thing. So it's pretty consistent as well. Yeah, those numbers are all about the same. Okay, Now let's look at the Amazon Basics. Same exact thing. So basically what it looks like to me is that those cables are complete garbage. So I would say, my professional opinion, do not buy a Monoprice or an Amazon Basics cable because it is complete garbage. It is not made very well. It's probably the oxygenation of the copper on the inside is not where it should be. It's complete garbage. Anyway, yeah, these numbers are basically on par coming out there, and then they're going to be higher there. So actually, it's really weird because the numbers are basically consistent. They're a little bit lower, so they're a little bit noisier. This right here, which is below 100 hertz, it looks like it's closer to about 60 hertz. And then there's overtones and harmonics that go up, it looks like. That's actually, is that right? 120? No, that's too high to be that. So it's not even harmonics. It's just weird effects. But it's still about 2 to 3 dB, maybe about 2 dB louder because of all these little lines that we're looking at here. Actually, here's what we're going to do now. We're going to go back to the very beginning. And in order to see what the average level is, we're going to choose an area of about maybe 6 seconds. And we're going to see what the noise level is. Negative 82.87, negative 82.4, negative 82.4. All right, so if we go over here, negative 82. Okay, so over the course of a 6-second span, it's basically negative 64, negative 64. It's all about the same. So there's obviously a little outlier over there, which is the reason why it kind of jumped up over there at the edge of it. Okay, so negative 82.12 and negative 82 point. It's actually a slightly lower noise floor if you look at over here. If we're looking at this, get past the outlier. Where was that? So roughly right there. So the sound speeds cable probably removed a little bit of something in there. But on average, that's basically the level you're looking at here. For the Monoprice, let's look at this. 6 seconds. Again, and we're going to discredit any of the outliers there. Monoprice cable, negative 82.4, negative 82.5, negative 82, negative 81. Okay, so it basically, once it kind of warms up a little bit, it's the same kind of thing. All the numbers are relatively the same. But when you go over here, you can see it dropped quite a bit. So maybe 6, 7 dB. Man, cable's not very good at all. All right, cable matters. Let's grab ourselves a 6-second gap. And we're going to do the same kind of thing. Numbers are very much on par with the others right at the beginning, coming out of the XLR dummy. There's obviously an outlier there. It's negative 79, negative 65. Okay, let's go back over here. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. There's a couple of different outliers in there. Negative 82.95, okay. And then right over here, we'll call it some outliers in there, but for the most part, the numbers are negative 82.2, negative 82.7, so negative 82.2. So basically, the cable matters. If you're going to buy a discount cable, it's probably the best bet. It does increase the noise floor a little bit along the bottom, but it's nothing in comparison to the Monoprice or the Amazon Basics. Those things are just terrible. Okay, so let's look at approximately 6 seconds right over here. Negative 82, negative 82. Same kind of thing. Let's look over here right before we hit cut. Negative 82, negative 81. Okay, so same kind of thing. And this is about 6, 7 dB off. This cable is just terrible. The noise floor is just way higher. So looking at the DM-1, we're going to select ourselves about an 6 second. That's what it is. 6-second gap over here. Numbers are fairly consistent around the negative 76 mark there. Remember, that's pretty good. And right around there. This little noise right there was removed by the SoundSpeeds cable. And when we start to kind of go through there, we're seeing more or less the same kind of numbers. So negative 76, negative 75, all the same kind of numbers as we were seeing over here. So SoundSpeeds cable, there you go. Pretty good results. Monoprice cable, let's look right over here. Find ourselves a 6-second gap. And start going through there. That noise was actually enhanced, and they created those really weird effects to it. Negative 75 dB, negative 74. So it drops maybe about 1 dB, half a dB, something like that, with all these extra noises it's adding. Not doing it any favors. The cable matters right there is, let's say, okay, so same kind of numbers, negative 75, negative 75, negative 75. And then coming over here after, Same kind of numbers, -75, -75, -75. So cable matters is from discount perspective. If you're running over a clean signal, running over a place with no RF, that's probably going to do your best bet. Because this right over here, -75, same kind of numbers that we've been looking at the whole time. I don't know why we would expect them to be any different here. The noise is added a little bit more noise floor, but as a general rule, it's not affecting it too much. -74.28, -75.49. So maybe about 1 dB or a part of it. But here's the thing. What we're looking at here is testing at like a very low level. You can easily process out this noise. Now, the big question we should be asking is, what happens if you run these cables over anything with interference? Like, for example, you run it behind your desk and it runs over your power strip and you don't realize that. What happens if it picks up a bunch of interference from your uninterrupted power supply, or maybe your computer power cable or something of that nature? It could be anything, and it could create noise in your audio and you don't even know it. Well, that sounds to me like it's another video, but here's where we're going to leave this one. And I will do that video. That will be the next one that I post to. As a matter of fact, if I have released it yet, you can find that video right there. So where I'm going to leave this is that if you have a clean signal chain and you're looking for a discount cable running around between all these cables, basically that we tested today, with the exception of the SoundSpeed Special, was about $11 to $12 roughly. And that's for a 10-footer. All the cables you saw me test today were 10-footers. So we ran those over an area of my desk where there's no interference, basically. And then we looked at the results. And I would say that if you don't want to buy a premium cable, based on this test that we did today, the Cable Matters is the only one I would say is actually probably going to give you at least somewhat decent results. So hopefully that gives you a bit of insight and things for you to ponder. Thank you for tuning in this episode of SoundSpeed. Be sure to tune in the future for more deep dives, testing, and of course the interference test that I just got through teasing. And as always, sound advice. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.